Hello and welcome to the Pay It Forward podcast with Payable. I'm your host Doug McKenzie, and on today's episode we're speaking with Mastercard's Christophe Zehnacker to find out how they're revolutionising the online checkout experience. Now, without further ado, we've got Christophe here. Let's find out more. Christophe, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much, Doug. How are you?
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us here today on the podcast. But Christophe, for our viewers who might not have seen you before, could you tell us a bit more about your role at Mastercard?
Sure. At Mastercard, I'm leading all of digital and acceptance solutions. So I'm basically product managing digital and acceptance solutions for Mastercard in Europe.
Christophe, I'm really intrigued to see how Mastercard is improving the online checkout experience, particularly for merchants.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are today advanced payment technologies like Mastercard Click to Pay and also secure card on file that are really revolutionizing the digital payment landscape today. Because both of these solutions offer secure, password-free checkout solutions that bring the same level of simplicity, security, and speed to e-commerce as contactless technology has successfully achieved in the physical world. And both of these technologies, Mastercard Click to Pay and Secure Card on File, really leverage a technology that's called network tokenization, which is built on EMVCo standards, and that technology provides end-to-end security and a seamless consumer experience. In terms of secure card on file, this technology has now been around for 5 years, and many of our global partners, global merchant partners, are already using it. They're connected to our Mastercard digital enablement system and basically receiving from us payment tokens that really will increase the overall security of the payments ecosystem online. For merchants that are in what we call the guest checkout space, we have Mastercard Click to Pay. And Mastercard Click to Pay is really bringing, first of all, I would say additional convenience to the consumer, because once again, they no longer have to type in manually their card number when they want to check out online. They simply will have their cards stored into the Click to Pay wallet. They will be recognized and authenticated using biometric technology that we call passkeys, so based on FIDO standards. And that's really benefiting the merchant tremendously.
Amazing. Now, with that in mind, obviously, it's brilliant to hear that the merchant is going to have far less abandonment, because I can't think of anything worse than a small, medium enterprise having a consumer get all the way through the point and then at the checkout just go, actually, I can't be dealing with this. And so to have that seamlessness is going to be so amazing for so many organizations. And it may seem almost obvious what it's going to mean for us, but I'm sure there's going to be some intangible benefits for the shoppers as well. Am I right?
No, absolutely. So once again, merchants really like for their consumers to store their cards on file, right? So this is really the preferred experience. And all of us today have a card stored somewhere, be it with Amazon, being with Uber, being with any kind of merchant, right? But then there's an alternative. When shoppers are not particularly interested in storing their card on file, they will be able to enjoy the convenience of Click to Pay, basically. And this is for the use case that we call guest checkout. So in this case, they will store their card with Click to Pay. And basically, they will be able to use any of their cards stored in Click to Pay at any of the merchants that accept Click to Pay today. And again, in terms of user experience, we're looking at a very seamless user experience where basically we will also be using recognition and authentication technologies based on biometrics, and more specifically, FIDO biometrics, which means that you will have almost like a one-click checkout experience. You're recognized via the biometric technology, and you're simply paying with your card being in the cloud. And again, this is a tokenized card, so there is absolutely no opportunity for fraud in this case.
That's incredible to hear, because that's what every financial institution is talking about this year, especially in the UK. Now, what are some of the biggest concerns merchants are dealing with? Some of the biggest challenges with their customers becoming, more tech savvy, especially since 2020. And how are Mastercard helping them deal with these huge changes to the demands?
So merchants themselves are obviously very keen on conversion rates, right? So that's a key pain point. So because a lot of transactions are abandoned, because maybe the person doesn't feel secure, or it takes too long to check out, right? So one of the first convenience that tokenization is bringing, and in particular click to pay, is really decreasing the overall transaction time and the overall time it takes to check out online, right? Um, and the other point, obviously, is security, right? So from the merchant point of view, security is very important. And the fact that they're accept tokens makes basically increases the confidence and reduces the fraud, which is also quite important for the merchant.
Incredible. Now, one thing that a global organization that Mastercard has to think of is obviously alternative payment methods or APMs. And I'd love to get your view on the rise of APMs and the impact this is going to have on merchants and the payments landscape in general. Because it'd be very easy to think in a digital environment, everyone's just going to use the same type of payment, right?
Yeah, it's a great question. But I think 2024 will really be the year for consumer choice. So consumers are more and more connected. They look for the ability to shop anywhere using their preferred device, looking for the same convenience and security online as contactless has achieved in the physical world, as I was saying before.
Yeah.
That said, Europe has a very dynamic domestic alternative payment method ecosystem. If you look at our geography, there are a number of those alternative payment methods out there. There's been also a sharp U-turn in the decades, long-term trend towards globalization with a rapid rise in nationalism, driven in large part by international geopolitics. These are two of the factors that have contributed to a significant growth in domestic alternative payment methods in several European markets. But our vision at Mastercard is to provide consumers with flexible payment solutions and therefore a combination of fast-growing local players with a global company provides consumers with what is best in payments, which is convenience, security, innovative technology, and global reach. For example, we have partnered with an account-based system founded in Poland, who now introduces a new approach to contactless payments without credit or debit card, providing a solution based on our network tokenization platform, MDES. And so basically, I'm talking about the solution BLIK that is very popular in Poland. And basically, we've extended the use of BLIK, which was an online checkout solution, to also work on using contactless rails. So that's how we are able to partner with these local alternative payment methods, I would say. But then in electronic commerce as well, we have several of those APMs that are domestic and that are now using our tokenization platform to tokenize card credentials and make payments even more secure and frictionless, and actually make those solutions actually going beyond their own borders. So becoming cross-border payment solutions as well for their customers. So we're really in the spirit of partnerships with these alternative payment methods to expand, their reach to contactless rails as well. So in the physical world, or even within online, to expand their reach internationally by using our tokenization platform.
That's so great to hear because the best way to grow is to explore a new market, and I imagine it's quite daunting when you suddenly realize that for instance, going into Poland, you're now going to have to deal with a whole different set of rails. Now, one thing that's been very apparent is how digital payments, you always mentioned, at the speed of a checkout, that's one goal, is to try and reduce that. And that adds an element of invisibility or at least instantness to the payment. So how is that going to impact fraud in the coming years? And where's the liability going to end up with? I feel we're having the industry is having this discussion now, is who should take the greatest ownership of fraud, when often it's the end consumer that's committing the fraud accidentally.
Yeah, it's a great question. So, if you look at the physical world, thanks to the implementation of chip and pin technology in the past, we've really been able to curtail the fraud to very, very small levels, right? So the fraud today in the physical world is extremely low. Now we're, of course, also addressing the card not present environment. And fraudsters are always looking for the path of least resistance. And that's why Mastercard has been innovating at the leading edge of technology to make e-commerce transactions as safe, if not safer, than in-person payments.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so, again, our first example of e-commerce vision is really to move to 100% tokenization along with the seamless authentication that I was mentioning before, using biometrics. So utilizing verified tokens instead of card numbers helps the ecosystem to avoid the unauthorized use of payment credentials. And so a token is valid only within a given payment context. If fraudsters try to use the tokenized credentials within a different context, alarm bells will ring off and they will be blocked in their path, basically.
It's absolutely brilliant to hear that, because how with instant payments, often you're having to look at it at the end of now that the payment has commenced and been received. Being able to stop it in its tracks is going to be so handy.
Basically, as I was saying, we're really looking at making two-factor authentication as easy, as smooth as possible, and using tokens, right? So on both the combination of both tokenization and seamless authentication will really enable to protect users, protecting their identity, their payment credentials. And so we're really going to leverage FIDO-based biometric authentication. That's already used, quite widely already today. If you look at the way you pay with mobile devices today, and we're using the same technology actually for online checkouts as well. So based on what we call passkeys. And so these issuer verified passkeys will offer really a best-in-class user experience, both for guest checkout solutions like Click to Pay, but also for secure card on file. So I think we have the right technology now to really make the card not present environment as safe as it can be. And so there will no longer be opportunities for fraud in the future.
Oh, wow. It's such a brilliant statement. And it's so fascinating to hear that we could get digital payments to finally be safe again. And even, as you said, more safe than in person, potentially. Christophe, that's been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for your insights. I hope you enjoyed yourself too.
Thank you very much, Doug. I really appreciate it.
Now, that's all we've got time for in today's episode of the Pay It Forward podcast. You can catch the rest of the series and so much more over at payable.com. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.